Hello and welcome to Module 5 Logs and Logs, Automating Log Monitoring. In this video we're going to be touching on logs, as you could guess, and parsing them for specific results, writing a script and testing it. I'll be going over a few new commands as well, so let's begin. So the first command that we'll be using is a new one called journalctl. It shows us log entries. So if you were to enter sudo journalctl-n and we'll say 15. What this does is journalctl says show us the log entries. If we were just to run sudo journalctl, it would show us every single log entry, which would be pretty long. -n is a flag, meaning number. 15 is the amount of lines we want to see. So we're basically saying show us the last 15 log entries, and if we're to enter this, then you'll see these are the last 15 log entries. This is pretty much where all system activity is recorded. On your system, if journalctl doesn't work, check the GitHub, the error file, because it can be quite funny. Journalctl works on newer Debian machines. If you're using the same one as me, you will be fine. But if you're not, you might run into some issues. So let's focus on these here for now, just to actually understand what we're looking at, because it's all very well being able to open log files, but if you can't read them, then there's not much point. So basically what this is saying is someone, you can see here where it says user root, and Max as well, that Max executed a sudo command, which is important to track. It's important to track where administrative privileges are going, making sure that the right people have them, and you can see that the command has went through, and if it continues on, then you can see the exact command that was executed and the directory that it was executed in as well. So yeah, this is how important the logs are. They allow you to catch system activity that might be suspicious or potentially malicious as well. So to get at this, we're just going to write Control-C. Easiest way to show it. Close it, sorry. And then we're going to write sudo journalctl-f. -f just means follow. Essentially what this does is show the logs in real time. So if we were to do anything on this machine, it would immediately be logged. So let's come down to these 3 lines here and just open a new window. And you can see it has notified us that a new GNOME terminal server has started. GNOME is the graphical user interface, which is what this is. So if we were to enter a command here like sudo echo hello, normally you wouldn't put sudo with echo, but it's just to demonstrate. And you will see the command has been logged right here on the main terminal. So that's how we review logs in real time. So to get out of this, we are just going to Control-C. And as we have in previous modules, we're going to run sudo journalctl so that we're showing the whole log entries. And then we are going to put a pipe and put grep failed password. Now it's important it's written like this because in the log files, failed password is logged like that. It's case sensitive. The F is capital, the P is lowercase. It won't work if you put failed password with a capital. And this, when you run this, you're basically just saying, well, you're filtering the journal entries to show only the lines containing failed password. So if we were to run this, yes, it returns nothing because we have no failed password attempts just yet. But when we write the script, we'll be reusing that line and you'll see it in action. So let's create a new text file so that I can show you some commands on how you'd maybe view text files that contain logs, because they can be really long. So let's sudo, if I can type, journalctl-n, and we'll take the last 10 lines and then we will put it into a new file called new journal.txt. So we've worked with redirecting in module 2, I believe. So this is just going to put the output of sudo journalctl-n10, which is going to give us the last 10 log entries and put them in this new text file. So if we do that, list, and we can see that the new file is there. Now, we can use the cat command to list the full contents of this file. So if we were to run that, it will list every single thing in this file. It is good for smaller files, I would say. If you're looking through bigger files that you know may contain a lot more log entries, you're better using less new journal.txt. What this does is it provides you basically a way to scroll through all of it instead of, I mean, the file's not really big enough for it. It's not really a great example, but if the file was big, you'd be able to just use your arrow keys to go up and down, and that would be much easier than cat, because cat would obviously print the whole thing in the terminal, and that just wouldn't be very good to work with. You'd be at the bottom of the document. If you need to view something at the top, then yeah, it can be a bit tricky. And to quit, you just type Q. And I do need to show you the other text editor as well, because we have been using Nano this whole time, because Nano is much more user friendly than V. So V is a lightweight text editor. It's pretty powerful as well. It's just a little bit harder to use. Well, not really, but to wrap your head around, yeah. So to open the text editor, it's the same as Nano. We just put V instead, and then we'll put the document that we want to edit, and this is this editor. Okay, so to go into edit mode, you have to press I, and then you can start writing things. So obviously the delete button doesn't work either. You have to change the letter yourself. You can put a space if you don't want it anymore, or you can just write something in here. So we'll just put hello, and to get out of insert mode, you press escape, and that puts us out. To then save your changes, you have to put a colon, and this will immediately take you to the bottom. And you can put W to save your changes, meaning write, so write your changes to the disk. If you want to just quit, you can write Q, and then you'd obviously have to press enter after these. If you want to save and quit, you can put WQ, and if you want to quit without saving, you put Q, and then an exclamation mark, and then just enter to get out. Simple as that. So let's now clear this terminal, and let's just check on specifically port 22. You'll see that it is closed. We're going to have to open this port for this lab so that we can simulate someone trying to log in. So to do that, we just need to sudo apt update, and then sudo apt install. I should put a -y, but basically what this does is, hang on 2 seconds, it just opens the port so that we can simulate SSH login attempts on, well, against our script. So if we run it again, you'll see it's now open. So now let's create the script file. So let's make a new file, just call it log scanner, and then we'll give ourselves executable rights to it so that we can actually run it. And put an sh at the first bit. Hang on 2 seconds. Alright, and then let's use Nano to open the text editor. We are then just going to begin with a shebang, as always, and then come down 2 lines, and we are going to create a variable that defines the output directory, basically saying where we want to store our results. The reason that we're doing it in a separate directory is because it's much cleaner, and especially if you're going to use this script multiple times, you definitely want it in a place that is easier to manage. So we're going to call this variable output dir, and then we are going to just put $home. So we're specifying that we want this directory in the home directory. $home is an environment variable that expands to the current user's home directory. So in our case, /home/max. And this just sets the folder where we want it to be stored. So we're going to go from home /log scans, and that's what we're going to call this new directory. Now we're going to come down again and we're going to make a new directory, a new variable called timestamp, basically so that we can add this timestamp to the log file name so that we know when the log file was recorded and so that it doesn't overwrite other log file names. That's really important. So we're going to be encapsulating the command date and then plus. So plus basically just allows us to specify the format. So we'll be doing %y to say year, and then dash. So the dash isn't like mandatory, it's just separators so that it doesn't just come out as a block of numbers. And %sign again, and lowercase m for month. The capital M is for minutes. We will get onto that in a second. Dash again, and then put %d, day, and then underscore, and then we'll go to specific time. So %h, hour, dash again, and then as I said previously, capital M for minutes, and then come over again and S for seconds. Hold that, and there we go. So now we have a timestamp as well that we can assign to the file names. Simple as that. And we know that when we encase in brackets, we're encasing the output of this command under timestamp, the variable timestamp. Simple as that. So let's come down 2 lines and let's specify the output file now. So similar to output dir. Let's just do this and then put in quotes. So we want the output file to be in the output directory. So we'll put output dir so that we are saying we want it inside this directory. This is where this file wants to go. And we're just going to call these files failed logins because that's what we're going to be tracking. And then as I said previously, we'll add timestamp to this as well. So we're using substitution to put the timestamp in the file name so that we don't get files that are overwriting each other, and we know when these files were recorded. So basically what this does is it just constructs the full path to the output file using the directory and the timestamp. But we need to actually make this directory. So because it doesn't exist yet, it's not actually been created. We need to use make-dir -p. We've used -p in I think module 2. With -p just creates parent directories if they don't exist already. In this case, log_scans doesn't exist. So make-dir -p, and then we'll put output dir. So that will basically create the output directory if it doesn't already exist as the script runs. So that's very necessary. Without that, the directory won't exist and the script won't run because the file will not have anywhere to go. Output dir here will fail because the directory just doesn't exist. That's the error that you'll be returned. So let's just write a message to the user saying it's starting scanning logs for failed attempts. Okay, I'll put like an ellipsis instead. There you go. So basically we'll just put in this just so that the user knows it's began. Pretty important because especially if you're running longer scripts, usually it's nicer to have like welcome and like the date and stuff, but this is just fine for now. These are small scripts, so it's not that bad. And then we'll just put sleep 2 actually, just so that we can kind of like simulate it running, like taking a little while, because it will already take a little while because scanning the whole journals is quite a lengthy task, but this will just make it feel more realistic. Next we're going to come down and we're going to write sudo journalctl. Now when I was testing this lab, it wouldn't work if I didn't put the sudo command inside the script. So I originally wrote journalctl and then I went on to the next line, but you're better off writing sudo journalctl. If it doesn't work, remove the sudo and then run it again. But then again, it will all be in the errors log on GitHub, on my GitHub. So check that link in the description for that if you're having any trouble there, because I do understand these labs, especially as we get later on, can be a bit funny. So we're going to parse these log entries for failed password. Again, I need to mention it is important that this is a lowercase p and this is a capital F. Before, again, when I was testing, I put a capital P for password. It didn't work. So, and then we're going to just put this. So what we're doing is we're saying the output of sudo journalctl grep failed password into our output file. Sorry. Simple as that. So now we've defined what's actually going into the output file for the file to exist. Simple as that. And then we're going to come down again and we're going to be creating a new variable called, we'll call it count. So this is just going to count the amount of times that failed passwords have occurred, which is pretty important because especially if there's loads, you don't want to have to sit and count them all if you really, really wanted to. It's good to know if you're being maybe brute force attacked. People are really, or numerous computers are trying to crack the passwords. You'll get probably a lot of failed password logs. So we're going to be putting wc-l, sorry, space there, -l. So this counts the number of lines. That's pretty much it. Since we've already specified what's in the file, it's going to be, since we put grep failed password, what's in this output file will be only lines containing failed password. All we need to do to get a count is simply just count the number of lines. And then we're going to have to put a arrow facing the command because we're taking from output file. So we just put output file here. Simple as that, and case that. So now we have the count logged already. So as I said already, wc-l just counts the lines in the file. So say there's 8 lines that contain failed password, then the count is going to be 8. Now let's actually finalize this file by saying echo scan complete, and then come down again, echo, I will say found, and then we will be using the count variable. So found x failed logins, failed login attempts. So there you go. So now we will actually get a number of how many failed logins we have caught. I will come down again, echo, I will say results saved to output file. Cool. So simple as that. Pretty easy. So let's save that, exit just now. And then we will, since we've already opened port 22, so we're fine there. So let's use sudo journalctl-f to see real-time log updates, and let's try to simulate some failed login attempts. So we can see them as we happen here, as they happen there. So we are just going to simply write SSH localhost. So we're trying to SSH into our own device. So just say yes to this and enter the wrong password. Don't enter the right one. Just enter the wrong thing, and you'll see, as you can see in the live log below, you can see failed password entries are coming through. So, oops. There you go. So we've generated 3 there. There's probably going to be more when we run the script, but for now that is good. And we will just get out of this, and then we will just run the file. Strange. So coming back to the script, unfortunately, I made a little error when I was writing the variable name here. I forgot a T. Little typo. It happens. So we'll save that, exit, and we will try this again. Unfortunately, the directory, I did a little bit of looking about. The directory wasn't made because I misspelled the output dir variable name. So when I ran make dir-p output dir, it didn't know what I was doing because output dir, well, I put like output dir or whatever, and that doesn't exist. That variable just doesn't exist. So the directory can't be made. So running it again. So as I was saying, running it again. Brilliant. Nice to see. Now, if we list, you should be able to see the new logscans file, cd logscans, and we will see that we have a new file. Now, let's just cat this file. And there you have it. There is our failed login attempts that we generated ourselves trying to SSH into the machine. Simple as that. I do apologize for the typo error, and thank you very much for your time. This is a great module, very important as well. Definitely quite tricky, I believe, especially testing these labs was a nightmare. This one especially, because there's a lot of other journal types in Linux machines. For this one, it's journalctl. That's the command that works, but for other machines, it varies a lot. So I do apologize if the error file does not contain your problem. Again, I try to test as much as I can when making these. So yeah. But this is a very important lab overall, being able to understand the logs, as we will come back to logs later on in later modules. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in a bit.